Diane Bailey, Stephen Booker,
Present.
Joseph Head, Michael Kaufman, Kathleen Goforth, present, Melee Kanui,
Here.
Olivia Quizas, Gail Lee, Rob McKenna,
Here.
Jason Mendelson,
Present.
Cheryl Shaw,
Here.
Remy Penn,
Here.
Desiree Thayer,
Here.
Robert Whitehair. We have a fourth.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right, so our first order of business will be to ask if there are any public comments about matters not listed on the agenda. To make a public comment, raise your hand. And let us know that you have a public comment. Okay, thank you. All right, then I would entertain a motion to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda items. Someone like to do that? So move. Thank you, Kathleen.
Second it.
Thanks, Millie.
Diane Bailey, Stephen Booker, Joseph Head,
Is everyone present?
I'm sorry,
Is there anybody remote?
we do not have anyone remote.
Then you don't have to do roll call.
Oh,
Yeah, you can just say all in favor.
All right, all in favor of then accepting our consent agenda and approving the minutes, say aye. All opposed? Fabulous, thank you for that little time saver.
You 30 seconds of your life back.
All right. Our next agenda item is going to be
Oh,
swear.
can I interrupt really quickly?
Oh, yes.
Two things. One, that was David Silverman, who's county counsel and the attorney for PCE for all new members. That is why we love him and defer to all things he says and thinks. So that's fantastic. Thank you. And then I also want to point out on the thing we just approved on the agenda, it looks new, it's fancy. And you're gonna send us the chair report?
I am.
Okay, never mind. That was it. Thank
Well,
you.
you can go ahead and say it, that's fine.
No, go ahead. I'll do it after you then.
Okay, yes, thank you for pointing out David Silverman, that's wonderful. So our first, next item of business will be the swearing in of new members.
That's me, I think. One of
Yes,
my
that is.
favorite things to do. So I understand we have 3 people, 1 returning and 2 new to swear in. So if you would do me the favor of being formal and standing and raising your right hand. And then I'm going to read the oath out loud slowly in parts.
You too.
Say it after me. But here's the tricky part. At the beginning, I'm going to say I and state your name. And you're, instead of saying I state my name, you're going to actually state. Do that, we're golden. So let's go ahead and get started. I state your name.
I.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear.
that I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations and welcome. You are now officially sworn in. This is one of the most exciting things for me. So thank you. I'm going to go off camera for a few minutes while I eat my dinner. I'm a big believer in camera, but I'm also a big believer in not making people watch me eat. So I will be listening carefully and I can jump in as necessary, but I'm going to go off camera. Thank you.
All right, thank you, David. All right, the next item of business is the chair report. And I just want to say a few things to you tonight. I want to remind everybody that as of very recently, I think maybe just one meeting ago, our meetings are now all recorded, the entire thing, visually and auditorily, and posted on the website. So we should all keep this in mind as we participate in meetings. It's now possible to go in and get a transcript of everything that was said. So everything we're doing is quite public, or more so than ever. So just wanted to remind you all of that. I also want to use my report tonight to greet our new members, John and Remy, and share 3 suggestions for enjoying your experience on the Community Advisory Committee. So first, welcome to the CAC and thank you for serving. We are delighted you've joined us and brought your specific interests, skills, and experiences to this group. We need your perspective, your creativity, and your energy to help this group function best. That's why PCE chose you for this role. Second, this is by design an eclectic group of clean energy champions. Everyone brings different levels of scientific, energy, environmental, and community knowledge for a reason. You'll learn and contribute most if you ask a question about what you don't understand. I guarantee someone else in the room has the same question you do. The clean energy industry, technology, and policies are changing constantly, but PCE is staffed by an extraordinary team that will keep us up to date. Finally, like most of life, you'll get out of this committee what you put into it. Take advantage of the training session, which will happen next meeting. And when you can, background info on the forming and functioning of PCE. One of the best experiences on the CAC is being in a working group, since you get to collaborate directly with staff and other CAC members, share expertise in the group, and or learn about a new area of clean energy. It's a rich experience, but feel free to join a working group when your schedule allows. At any time, please email me or Jason with questions, concerns, or ideas. We love hearing from you. Jason, do you want to add anything? Any words of wisdom?
No, welcome. I know some of you, and I think hopefully you'll have some fun. If not, maybe we'll get some good things done. So that'll be good.
So with that, we will now flow directly into member introductions. And so I'd like you just to tell us, maybe we'll start with you, Remy. Just tell us who you are, where you're from, and something you'd like to do or learn while serving on the Community Advisory Committee.
So my name is Remy Tan again. Originally, it was from New York, tri-state metro area, an hour outside New York. I came out here to go to Cal, and pretty much lived out here, you know, since college. I didn't go back to New York City for a couple of years after college. And didn't like it, and I loved this area, so I came back here. Pretty much been working here since like the early 90s, aside from the stint overseas in Singapore. I'm an architect, graduated architecture and minor in city planning from Berkeley, and been doing this for 35 years. Very interested in sustainability, green building, at my lead AP. And hoping to get out of the committee, you know, more, you know, knowledge about, you know, new forms of clean energy and how it affects us.
Great. Great.
Of course, like.
Okay, thank you. All right. What should we do? Should we have Yana introduce herself too? Sure. Yana, you're new, and it would be nice if you told us about yourself. Yes.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jana Topic-Lande. I'm a new staffer at PCE as of March. I came from MCE, or Marin Clean Energy, the first CCA in the state of California, but have about 15 years of experience in the clean energy world in California in a variety of different organizations and entities. I started working for nonprofits, kind of grassroots organizations on energy programs, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about today. So how do we bring, incentives and other offerings to customers so they can install energy resources at their home or at their business? I've worked on that for nonprofits, and I worked for consulting companies. I worked for the utility for a bit, and then I came to the CCA world about 5.5 years ago, and I think found my home. I love the intersection of local government and innovation, and we do really cool stuff, I think. That one of the things I'm going to talk about today. My background, I am German. I moved here after college, and I'm an environmentalist at heart, I would say. Do this for a passion with a mission. And I'm also really excited about equity and energy. That's the stuff that like keeps me up at night and brings me to work every day. So I'm really excited to be here.
Nice to meet you. That's right. Let's just keep going so we can introduce ourselves to the new members.
I'm Desiree Thayer. I live in Burlingame. I'm originally from Michigan. I came to California for grad school and down in San Diego, and then moved up to the Bay Area for my postdoc. And I've been here now for more than, almost 20 years in California. I got involved with PCE because I was involved with Citizens Environmental Council of Burlingame, which is a local nonprofit. So I act as a liaison with them, but also with the city of Burlingame, and have been pretty involved with some of PCE's youth programs, especially with the high school leadership program. And I guess one thing I want to learn is just some new information from the new members on the committee.
John, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm John McKenna. I live in Menlo Park. I've got a 10-year-old daughter. I'm a native Californian. I was born in San Diego, and I moved up here when I was 11. So I've been up here just a couple of years now. And I just always admired Peninsula Clean Energy and the work that they do, and the CAC. I've attended a few meetings and was excited to have the opportunity to join this group and learn from you all. I got my feet wet in climate about 3 years ago with the Climate Action Leadership Team, which is part of Sierra Club Loma Prieta chapter. And I learned all about the solutions that are available for this issue we're facing, and what local governments can do to accelerate change. And so I've learned a lot in that arena, and I'm really passionate about just decarbonizing our lives as quickly and as equitably as we can. And I look forward to bringing hard work and passion and friendliness to the group.
Kathleen.
I'm Kathleen Goforth. I live in San Carlos. I worked for the Environmental Protection Agency for about 35 years. I retired about 5 years ago now, and pretty much have been doing a lot of volunteer work regarding climate change. Since then, I trained under Al Gore to be a climate reality leader. Done some volunteering with Citizens Climate Lobby, and I was involved in helping to get REACH codes adopted in San Carlos. I'm also a master gardener, and I'm helping to get started a climate study group within the master gardeners. Been giving a lot of presentations lately on climate change. And let's see, I was involved with Peninsula Clean Energy when it first got started, helping with outreach, just to let people know about it. Going door to door and to businesses to hand out flyers and that sort of thing. Let's see, what do I want to learn? I've learned a lot since I've got here, and I've been involved with the building electrification work group. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the transportation side of things. And I think that's about it. Did I answer all the questions?
Yeah, you did. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I would have to follow Kathleen. Sure you like everything, Al Gore, I mean, EPA. Thank you for everything you did. My name is Stephen Booker, as you know, welcome to the new members. I'm a native, I live in Half Moon Bay now, I was born and raised in San Francisco. I work for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers as the political director and community affairs liaison. So part of the reason I'm with PCE is because I'm an electrician by trade, but I'm also the community affairs liaison, and it's a way to work hand in hand with PCE and our local contractors to have workforce policy agreements and environmental protection as we work with like Blue Green Alliance and Sierra Club and so on and so forth as we build this infrastructure of electric vehicle charging stations and solar and distribution facilities and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's just, this is my job. But it's cool. Nice people and we have fun and laugh and listen to all of Jason's wonderful stories and wonder where the hell our chair comes up with these questions that gets us out of our shells.
That's right.
Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Okay, Melee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mele, and I was actually born and raised in the small island of Tonga, but our family moved here maybe 30 years ago or so. And I've lived in East Palo Alto. I'm a mom of 2 kids who are now in college. And so this whole Peninsula Clean Energy was everything that I was looking for as far as, just contributing to the community. And I look forward to, just learning a little bit more about clean energy. Take some knowledge from there.
Thank you so much, Melee. Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason Mendelson. I live in Redwood City, but I've either lived or worked in 10 of the 20 cities in San Mateo, 5th generation San Franciscan on both sides, and don't leave much, but I just got off an airplane, so I'm here. And I used to work for Woodside as a volunteer. My mother made me do it when I was 18, and I did it for 19 years on their sustainability committee. And then they got rid of me and the county said I could do this. So I was happy to take that on to the extent that I can. I'm an attorney by trade, but I run a small family business that makes cartoons and documentaries. And what I'm hoping to learn is if any of these crazy programs we've been talking about are going to work in the next couple of years, and just hopefully revolutionize what we can do on a local level. And I think we can, and I'm excited to see how that's going to shake out. So that's my answer.
Any cartoons on CCAs or?
Not yet. I will tell you, since you asked, thank you, Stephen, my good friend, 2 things. One, Kathleen is also the first person I know who pulled the gas line, not just out of her house, but all the way to the center line of her street, which took great courage and effort with our utility. So I want to point that out. And the second thing is, I have a record coming out in September that is made out of industrial waste gases coming out of Germany. I thought I was the first one doing it, but apparently Billie Eilish and my company are releasing these records. I didn't quite get the certification for all the things I'm doing, so I had to redo some of the marketing on it, but it's going to be a almost completely sustainable and neutral vinyl record. So I'll put that out there, but it's 50 years old, the music, but the record is new, so it'll be good.
Wait, what's on the record?
It's well, I can't announce it yet. It's a Peanuts related Vince Crawley record. Next meeting I'll announce it. I can't announce it until September 6th, or excuse me, till July 8th.
Thank you, Jason.
That's interesting. I know a guy that's having a record released on July that plays piano.
Really? We'll talk later.
Okay.
He wants to go to the concert. You go.
I will go last. Okay. I'm Kristen Andrew Schwind. I'm the Associate Director of Community Relations and Climate Equity. And Vanessa and I are on staff and we are liaisons, State Committee and staff. And a group of senators nods, live in Pacifica. And so we have another Pacifican on the Community Advisory Committee. So, yeah, so we're supposed to hang out with you on Thursday nights. And also, I print out some more agenda packets. I meant to just print out a couple agendas by so folks who don't have laptops, I think I grab one and pass it on. Might as well use it since I printed it out. You let Michael. Yeah. Would you like to introduce?
I'll come out soon.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Well, sorry I'm late joining the meeting, but it's a pleasure to be here. And what's the question tonight? Who we are?
Yeah, we're introducing ourselves to the new members, so we want to know a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you want to still do or learn while you're functioning on the CAC.
Well, let's see. I have a long history of environmental action, and I was among the early group of local citizens in 2015 and 2016 that helped get Peninsula Clean Energy going. And I, for some reason, got involved in the first advisory committee back, I guess, in 2016 or so, and I'm still on the committee. And I've worked with a number of you, particularly Jason, over the years. And my particular interest is in locally generated energy. And I've been trying to encourage the organization to do more of that. But I'm very supportive of all of the great initiatives that that PCE is doing, and looking forward to participate in whatever way is most appropriate.
Thank you, Michael. Great to see you. All right, now Vanessa, please.
Okay. I was just worried I would think that Michael was on the call. Hi, everyone. And along with Kristen, we have the great pleasure and privilege of supporting you all on the Community Advisory Committee. I've been with Peninsula Clean Energy for almost 3 years now, and had started out my career working with the City of Cupertino Sustainability Department in local government. And through learning about their climate action plan, I discovered the concept of community choice aggregation and learned that the creation of their community choice energy agency was the one thing that drove down their emissions in the city, or the most impactful thing. And so that opened my eyes to how important energy is and decarbonization. And I was lucky to be able to get a job here at Peninsula Clean Energy. So really excited to work with all of you. This is honestly such a fun part of our jobs. Appreciate you all.
We really appreciate you. Okay, I'm Cheryl Schaff. I am in Menlo Park also. Menlo Park is well represented on this group. I too am an Al Gore trainee grad, and have given presentations about the climate problem that we face. I'm also involved in the Menlo Park climate team, and I guess I've actually done 3 festivals now in the last 3 years to help teach the community about taking better care of the planet. So I do not have COVID at the moment, just so you know. I've just come over a bad respiratory virus. I'm healthier than I sound. And I am really looking forward to, in this coming term, I'm just starting my 2nd term. I'm looking forward to us getting some momentum with both income qualified and non-income qualified folks taking on decarbonization at home. I just really think it's time for us to be doing that. And I hope to personally be one of those people that's working on that myself. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And we look forward to meeting our new member who will come from Los Pinos eventually, and then the other new member who couldn't be here tonight. So,
Right, yeah, and I think Aurelio is going to come in. He's coming from a big event from his organization.
Oh,
I think
okay.
he'll be right in soonish, and then.
okay, great. All right. Thank you. All right. So let's go on then to our next.
Before we move on, I think our lawyer David to have us say something for the record now that Michael is online.
Okay.
And so, can you speak now?
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just got some information about Michael's situation. So can you just give me a second? I just want to verify something very quickly. Talk amongst yourselves, if you will.
Michael or David's just gonna kind of explain himself and see. Yeah, okay, okay.
They're gonna figure out whether he's legit yet.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
So I think I got it. So I'm sorry, Michael, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, I'm not asking you to state anything private, but I understand that you are seeking to utilize the Just Cause ability to appear remotely for the first time this year. Is that right?
Yes,
And you have a physical condition that would qualify as a temporary disability that wouldn't allow you to get here. Is that right?
that's true.
All right, thank you. We're all set. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's fortunate that we have Michael, but unfortunately, we now need to revert to roll calls going forward.
Actually, I'd like to very briefly describe my situation.
You don't have to,
You don't
Mike.
have to do that.
We're all set, but I mean, if you'd like to, I suppose you
Well,
can.
it might be instructive. I don't know. Anyhow, 5 years ago, I had a hip replacement. Recently, it became infected. It turns out they're going to have to remove the whole new hip and clean it all out and then put in a new hip. So, and that's going to start next week. So I'm hobbling around, and I'll be hobbling around for several more months, but I'll be continuing hobbling in support of PCE.
The other thing is you to be on camera.
Oh.
Yeah, I know this is schools were not as vigorous as they are, but it's law requires.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
We like seeing your face.
You look good, Michael.
Thank you for that clarification.
With hip up.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so now we'll move to our next order of business, which is we're going to hear from from Yana, whom we just met, about, she's going to do a presentation on self-generation incentive program. So
Vanessa,
please
do you want me to do the clicker, or will you just? You'll do the next slide. Okay. Well, I'm gonna just do a quick introduction again for myself. So to give you a little bit more context, what I actually do at PCE. So like I said, I have a long history in working on customer energy programs. So any type of incentive programs that support customers to access any type of energy resource for their home, for their business, residential customers, commercial customers. And I've worked both on the policy side and on the implementation side. And what my job at PCE allows me to do now is to take that knowledge, working both on policy and on program implementation, and grow and innovate on our programs and find funding to do so. As you all know, affordability is a big concern. Spending money on customer programs will get harder and harder in the future. And so I was brought on board at PCE to what's so fancily called diversify our income for program purposes. My title is Associate Director of Innovation Strategy, which is just a fancy way of saying I get to work on all the fun projects that are innovative and new. And I'm really excited to talk about one of those projects today that we're standing up. So would you go to the next slide, Vanessa, please? So just to give a quick agenda for what I want to talk about, I'm going to provide a little bit of context why I'm here and what I do. I already started doing that a little bit. Again, I'm looking for funding opportunities for our programs, diversify our revenues. Right now, we mostly pay our programs that we do with our own generation revenues. And that's not sustainable in the long run if we really want to decarbonize many, many homes and bring storage to many, many homes. So we're trying to get more access to state and federal funding. And that's why I'm here. I'm going to talk about one program in particular today that we're standing up that's accessing statewide funds, and that's the self-generation incentive program. And how that fits under our general goal of growing distributed energy resources. And I'm going to say right away, the energy world, we love using abbreviations. It gets confusing, so just stop me at any point in time if you don't get anything. So always happy to stop. And then the end goal today is that I answer all the questions that you have about that self-generation incentive program, assistance program. It's a mouthful, so I'm going to call it the SGIP assistance program. And that then you kind of approve our recommendation that we go ahead with the development of that program. Any questions just about generally what we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about all of that in more detail.
So Yana, will you be the person that will be looking for money from the IRA?
Yep.
Okay.
That's me, exactly. And that is a perfect transition to the next slide. We are not going to talk about all of these things that are on this slide. I literally just put the slide in there to tell you, we're going to do a lot. And that's really all you're going to take away from this slide. What I wanted to instill on you is, our Rafael, and you hopefully probably maybe know Rafael Reyes. The new folks don't know Rafael Reyes. Rafael Reyes is our amazing Senior Director of Customer Programs. He has an awesome team that works on many programs already. And we generally work in the energy efficiency. So these four what do you call them? See, now I don't know. My daughter would know what those things are called. Quadrants, thank you. The 4 quadrants in the middle explain kind of the types of programs we work on. Energy efficiency, electrification, you can also call it decarbonization. Behind the meter distributed energy resources, you also call distributed energy resources DERs. I'm going to use that abbreviation a lot. Behind the meter just means on the customer side, on your home, on your business. Front of the meter distributed energy resources, or DERs, are the energy resources that are located and directly connected to the distribution or transmission grid. So not at the home, but more the big stuff. And then there's a new world that's emerging that is really not that relevant today, but there's a lot of what's called real-time pricing, where regulators are pushing for kind of making customers more aware of how much energy costs every hour of the day and adjusting behavior accordingly. So this is just, in all those 4 quadrants, we're pursuing funding opportunities. You'll see, 3 in terms of energy efficiency, 3 in terms of customer-sided DERs, 2 for front of the meter DERs, 2 for real-time pricing. Again, we're not going to go in all of these. I can always answer any questions if you have a particular interest. I'll probably come back to talk about some of these other opportunities at another time. But I just wanted to instill on you, we have a lot of plans to grow and innovate on PCE's programs with funding, and it's really exciting, and there's more to come. So that's really all I wanted to say on that slide. Go to the next slide. Can you take one more time? Yeah, there's these things for. Okay, so today, like I said, we have electrification, we have distributed energy resources, or DERs. Today, we're talking specifically about the portion of our program world that focuses on distributed energy resources at a customer site. And our programs team has a strategy set up for the next few years that is just depicted here. Again, I'm just providing this for context. We're not going to dig into that today, but we want to do more work on energy storage and solar at a customer home for resiliency purposes, for grid reliability purposes, to help customers when outages happen. We want to do right-sized resilience, meaning you don't always need the biggest and the fanciest thing, but you can sometimes go with the lower and more cost-effective solution for some customers, while other customers may want to go for the big and fancy thing. So right-sizing those customer solutions is really important, because there is a trend to always sell customers the most expensive and fanciest thing, and that's not always needed. And then what's really important in California right now, and you probably know this with like the outages that happened in 2021 that were a really big deal when we had rolling outages. We have grid reliability challenges, and these virtual power plants on the right bottom, or VPPs, can help us as a load serving entity to control the resources behind, like at a customer site, to use them in a manner that's beneficial for both the customer and the grid. That's a whole big new concept that's emerging in California. That's going to be huge, but it is at the very beginnings of like where we want to go in our energy transition. So the idea that resources at a customer site can really help to ensure grid stability and grid reliability in California, which is mostly done with large resources now. And that's through this establishment of a virtual power plant, or VPP. You may have heard this term a lot lately. It's like kind of a buzzword if you're in the energy world.
So conceptual wise, is that it's taking like all the solar, let's say it's on the different individual houses, kind of linking them
Together, exactly.
But isn't that already happening with grid tied solar?
It is not, no one controls them. So these resources are all going, you're right, they're all connected, but no, the utility or the load serving entity, which is the CCA, doesn't have any control over those resources. We can't say when you have a storage or a solar system, right now we have too much solar on the grid, don't send us any solar. Like put it in your battery if you have a battery, for example. But right now we need your discharge from your solar or your battery. Give it to us now. So there is like a control mechanism involved that's important to get right. And we currently don't really have that for most
And
resources.
PG&E and the power companies
Don't have that either. Very limited, in very limited manners, and for pilot projects they do, but tiny portions.
But what happens to the power that's coming in?
It just goes in, and PG&E has to deal with it to be able to take it in, and that's creating a lot of issues for PG&E. That's why the distribution grid is always often overwhelmed, and it takes PG&E so long to bring resources online, because when they bring in a new solar or solar plus storage project, they need to make sure the grid has the capacity to take that in, and that's not easy. Not easy for EVs, not easy for solar and storage. Hence, it's a big topic that PG&E is really dealing with right now that we could talk about another hour and a half, and I'm happy to talk to you more about it. All right, so that's the context. I'm gonna get into the particular program I want to talk about, but before I do so, just a quick question. Any kind of just big picture questions you want to discuss? Comments?
What was Deborah?
Oh, yeah, sorry. And then, yeah, in the green boxes, so these are funding opportunities that we're pursuing for these initiatives, program initiatives. And so again, this kind of refers back to the previous slide. If you see the printout, so DEAI is a funding opportunity. See on the top right, the SGIP assistance programs we're talking about here. We're looking into some financing options. So yeah, these are the funding opportunities that support those strategies that we're working on in the program side. Good question.
And everything you're gonna work on is going to be a revenue opportunity for PCE.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm gonna also, there's a part of my job that doesn't have to do with funding, where I will, work on other organizational priorities. But for the next year, what has happened, I should add that, as you all have maybe heard, Biden passed two big infrastructure bills in 2020 and 2021. The IRA is the 2021 one that a lot of people talk about. A lot of funding is coming to the different states for clean energy projects. The IIJA is the previous one that people don't talk a lot much, but also gives a lot of money out. So I'm working on both state funding opportunities and these federal funding opportunities that come from IIJA and IRA. I'm trying to get some funding for PCE and other CCAs from those federal funds that are quite substantial.
Michael has a question.
Yeah.
These sound like great new projects. Aren't some of them like the front of the meter distributed energy resources? Haven't they been opposed by CPUC and PG&E?
Yeah, To some extent, the CPUC still says we want to support distributed energy resources, but you're right, there was just a recent decision that you're probably referring to
Yeah,
that didn't allow kind of a community solar proposal that would have brought far more distributed energy resources to the grid.
right, right.
And the CPUC denied that. You are absolutely right. But it was about the details of how it was proposed. And I would say it is very challenging to develop front-of-the-meter distributed energy resources in California because there's a lot of limits to it. The CPUC sets a lot of limits to it. The utilities don't love it, right? Because they can't control those distributed
Right.
energy resources. So it's hard, but there's still some opportunity there, I would say.
Well, that's very encouraging. It seems to me this is really a lot of the energy generation of the future could be in this quadrant.
Yeah. I'm actually this week, I was super busy developing a new community solar program, thinking, kind of brainstorming on a new community solar program and how that could look after the commission just denied the previous proposal. So it's never boring, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Isn't that the issue is, I'm just thinking kind of big picture. In the olden days, PG&E owns the lines, owns the power plants, whether it's gas, nuclear, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So they own the whole system and it can kind of control that. But now what you're having like the individual houses that have their own solar. You have these new solar farms or wind farms that are not owned by PG&E, but they still have to connect to the grid that's owned by PG&E, and PG&E, they're not making money off of those other generation sources. So they're complaining that they don't have money to maintain the grid, which is falling apart because forest fires,
Yeah.
all the issues. So how is that all being fixed?
Worked out, yeah. Good question. I mean, so this is how PG&E makes their money is like a very complex question that I can only like answer this much of. But my little portion is PG&E doesn't make money off the generation portion of the business. So, generation is the way we make the electricity, the solar, the wind, the hydro and all that. PG&E doesn't make money off of that. PG&E makes money off owning capital, specifically the poles and wires. That's how PG&E makes money. So, if you're a PCE customer, right, the generation charge, like the way we make the electricity, solar, wind, etc., all that you pay to PCE, and then you pay for the poles and wires, you pay directly to PG&E. So that's PG&E mostly, they make their money, like the generation revenue called a pass-through, actually. So PG&E continues to make their money on the poles and wire. What they have done though is they haven't maintained their system, and I don't want to bash on PG&E too much, it's complex, but very simple terms, they haven't maintained their poles and wires. They're trying to catch up now, and it's a lot of costs to update those wires and bring them into the 21st century. And then there's things like EV infrastructure happening, which is a huge infrastructure project that just costs a lot of money. So
what happened to PG&E's power generation stuff?
they still have some, but it's significantly smaller because of CCAs. Like it's about 50%. I don't want to give you exact numbers, but at a time it was about 50% reduced because 50% of the load had gone to CCAs.
And that's a community.
CCAs is community choice aggregators. That's like the PCEs, the Marin Clean Energy, the alternative local government energy providers that are out there. Like PG&E has lost about half of its customers to us, local government agency providing energy for customers. So don't quote me on the exact numbers. It was 50% a little while ago, but it's about that.
But don't they make money on their power plants they still own?
No, not really. They just get to recover their costs. Yeah. It's the assets. It's like the buildings that they own, the poles and wires that they own and that. Yeah. All right, next one. Yeah, sorry, keep going. Today we're going to talk about that SGIP assistance program. So the SGIP, I'm going to say it again, it's called the Self-Generation Incentive Program. but I'm gonna call it SGIP moving forward because the name really doesn't matter. It is California's longest standing customer program that incentivizes customers to install a variety of distributed energy resources behind their meter. So think solar, storage, also combined heat and power, wind for customers, very unusual, but like it does happen. It is like a large incentive program that has existed in California since 2001. There's constantly, since 2008, the SGIP program has focused mostly on the installation of energy storage. If you recall, 2019, we were fighting a lot of wildfires and public safety power shutoffs. And so a lot of people were really interested in installing solar and storage at their homes to make sure that when the grid goes down, they can keep their house up and running, the electricity in their house up and running. So the SGIP is known for getting a new injection of money into the program, and then that money goes away really quick. And so right now, the SGIP got a new injection of funding in the last year, and there will be $280 million from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. Again, relatively unimportant for you all where the money's coming from, but it's $280 million from the GGRF will be allocated for income qualified residential customers only. And they can install either standalone storage, that's an energy storage system, a battery, or a solar plus storage project at their home with that money. And again, the important things to take away, it's just for residential customers and just for income qualified customers. And so what does that mean, income qualified? For single family customers, you have to have an income under 80% of the area median income. Sorry, I should have spelled that out. Area median income. So it's by area. There is a website that shows you what your area median income is and what 80% of that is. And it's other customers who are already enrolled in existing California energy programs. Again, there's like abbreviation soup there: CARE, FARA, ESA, SASH, DAC-SASH. Doesn't matter. It really just means if you're already enrolled in a low income support program in California, you can get access to the SGIP funding as well. And then multifamily homes that are smaller than 5 units, that are more than 5 units, that are located in a DAC, or where a majority of the tenants that live in that multifamily unit have incomes lower than 60% of AMI, they are also eligible.
Live in the unit, not live in the census tract.
Live in the unit, correct. So like 80% of the units in that multifamily building have to be considered like low income or under 60% AMI.
For existing.
For existing, good question. This is for existing homes, not for new homes. And what is most exciting is that these incentives from the statewide program are expected to cover the full project cost for installing these solar plus storage or standalone storage systems, which is very unusual. So these are the incentives rate. Again, for most people, that doesn't tell you much, but it's $1.10 per watt hour for storage and $3.10 per watt for solar. That will, I just looked up the numbers. Give me a second, but I know it more or less. That for a normal residential customers will install about 12 kilowatt hour storage. That would be $13,200 for just installing a battery. And then if you want to do solar plus storage, the state would give you $25,000 to install both. And that should cover all the project costs, which is, a really great offering for customers that can qualify. And those funds are expected to be available around December 2024. So it's a great opportunity for low-income customers to improve their resiliency, to get, solar plus storage or just storage installed in their home. The challenge is that SGIP funding, if you're just the average homeowner, it's really hard to access that funding because it comes out. There's a few developers that are really involved, and it goes like this, sometimes within like hours. And so I'm gonna talk about what we want to do to get some of that funding to our customers. That's our SGIP assistance program. But before I do that, just want to pause here and just ask, do you have any questions about what the SGIP program does? I should say the SGIP program is administered and run by the utilities. So this is not funding that comes directly to PCE. This is funding that PG&E will give out to customers. Any questions generally on the SGIP program? And what it does?
280 million is going to be for everybody. That's it.
For everybody in the state, and it's about, and it shows, maybe you go to the next slide, it shows that in PG&E service area, it will be $110 million. And then within PG&E service area, it's first come, first serve. So what we want to do is that we want to support our income qualified residential customers in our service area and accessing these statewide SGIP incentives. There's generally a lot of confusion, who's eligible, who's not eligible. What do I have to do to submit an application? The application process is complicated. I don't get it. And so we want to help, one, identify eligible customers and then help them with that application process. So there's a few steps we're proposing to take. The first step is our marketing team is planning on running an outreach campaign to identify and recruit eligible income qualified customers. The really cool thing is that we already have an existing decarbonization electrification program, our home upgrade program, that also targets customers at 80% AMI or lower. So we can combine our outreach efforts and say, hey, do you want to electrify your home? And by the way, you can also get free solar plus storage or just storage. So we want to do kind of a large outreach campaign in the fall to identify who we think is an eligible customer, and then see if there's interest in participating. And we want to likely target customers, again, that participate in our existing home upgrade program. That's our electrification program. That's also targeting low-income customers, so that customers can get more if they work with us. They can get electrification, like an electric stove or an electric dryer, and solar plus storage, which also really helps with the electrification, right? If you electrify higher electric needs, usage, you could use solar plus storage to offset that. We want to focus on customers located in areas prone to grid outages. You know, that still continues to be an issue for some customers, even though it's gotten better. And we want to focus on customers that have solar but want to add storage to have that. If you have solar alone, your electricity that you generate will just always go into the grid. If the grid goes down, your solar is dead. Some people thought when the grid outages happened, oh, I have solar, it will just, you know, won't I have power with my solar system? You don't. Once the grid goes down, your solar system is off, unfortunately. So you can add a storage system, and then that doesn't happen. Then you can island and create your own little power plant in your home. So again, step one is identify customers who want to do this. Step two is then hire a rebate administrator. There are third-party entities that do this to support customers and developers in the SGIP application process. So we wouldn't do that. There are entities who are really good at understanding this is the eligibility requirement for SGIP. We can support customers to make sure they get the actual application in and it's complete and we're in on time. And then once we're connected to these customers, a lot of customers have technical questions, right? I don't trust my contractor. How can I find a good contractor? We can help them connect with a few contractors to get bids. Maybe we'll even have an assigned contractor. We're still thinking about that. We can answer any questions that they have. We are also considering connecting them to our 0% financing offering that we're developing if they have roofing upgrades. You know, some people can't do solar because their roof is so old. And so we could help them finance their roofing upgrades for no cost, and then SGIP would give them solar plus storage. And then in the end, the idea is that all these resources that we're bringing out there would be incorporated under our virtual power plant. And we would have that control that we talked about earlier with agreement with the customer. Of course, we wouldn't do anything that the customer wouldn't like, but with agreement with the customer, we could like use those resources in a way that are beneficial to the grid and the customer. So just the last two things, I already said it's about $110 million for PG&E service area. Expect to go really quick. Our goal is to enroll about 200 customers. If we're thinking that half of them will do solar, storage only or battery only, and the other half will do battery and solar, we could bring around $4.6 million of SGIP incentives to our customers with relatively little effort. And that's what we're hoping on doing. On timeline, this program is regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. So it always takes a while. Once the program gets new funding, it takes a while until it's actually allocated. And so, there's some like regulatory decisions we need to wait for. They're happening in August. Then we're planning on doing that outreach campaign in September, October. The rebate administrator will help customers to get the application in November, December. And then hopefully customers will start installing systems early 2025. So it's happening all pretty quickly. That's why I'm bringing this particular program to you all today, because it's the first thing we want to do where we're trying to get grant funding. So maybe just the last one, and then we'll have more of a conversation. But the recommendation is that we develop this SGIP assistance program. We'll select that rebate administrator that we expect to cost less than $100,000. It will depend on the amount of applications actually processed. We would work with participating contractors to help customers find an installer. We would run an outreach campaign. We have like technical assistance staffer, and maybe we'll offer on-bill finance. But that's basically it. And then Vanessa, one last thing. And so if we do all that, we're hoping to get $4.6 million for our customers from a statewide program where the funding always goes quickly. So that's the idea. We hope it'll work. Yeah. Because roof repairs are a big hurdle for solar for a lot of low-income customers. The roofs are often not stable enough to install solar. And so we want to make sure that not too many customers are excluded from this opportunity because of bad roofs.
Does that include structural upgrades to the roof?
Yeah.
Support the solar?
Yeah, I mean, it will probably have to have a limit. Roofs can be incredibly expensive, as you know, as an architect, I'm sure. But to an extent, we're trying to work with customers as much as we can.
I think that's not part of this federal funding.
Correct. That would be an offering provided by PCE, by Peninsula Clean Energy. Yeah, it's a loan, but it's 0% loan. Yeah.
Seems like a really great program to connect customers to these resources. I'm just curious how it's considered like revenue for PCE.
Yeah.
It seems like more like a cost.
It's not an admin revenue. Like it doesn't mean like it's going to pay for my staff time, for example. But what PCE does is we're setting some money from our generation revenues aside to spend on programs. I'm giving you random numbers, but let's say we have 100 million in revenue and income, which we may not have, but we're setting 25 million of that aside to run customer programs. And that goes directly into the incentives, into working with customers, into doing outreach campaigns. The idea would be that we don't have to spend two ideas, right? Where either we can spend our 25 million and get another 5 million from the state and we can do more. Or eventually, if we run into more financial tightness, we can't spend 25 million anymore on the programs. We could reduce that to 20 and use 5 from the state. That's how it's like a revenue diversification in that sense. We fund our programs that we want to do anyways, and we can either do more or spend less of our own money, depending on our financial situation, quite frankly.
Folks that opt into this program, are they required to be part of the virtual power plant, or is
Yeah, not required, no. I think we would strongly encourage it because it's a benefit for them and for the grid, but yeah, no, I don't think it'll be a requirement, no. If they have strong feelings about it, they could opt out, basically.
How is it a benefit for them?
If you have time of use rates on your bill, and so you need to make sure when you install a solar plus storage system, for example, that you charge your battery in a way that it discharges, like if at 6, let's say when the sun goes down, and you keep using energy, your solar system doesn't produce anymore, that's when you want your storage to kick in, so you can use your energy from your storage system until 9 when the time of use stops, and then basically that your solar system supports you during the 4 to 9 time when it's peak, and you're paying the higher energy rates to either PCE or PG&E.
So question about that. I have a home battery system and we can just set the battery system to work that way. That's how we have it. Our house runs on the battery from 4 to 9 every day. That's not being managed by PCE. So I mean, people can do that independently. What's the advantage and how do you get them connected to PCE?
Yeah. I think, and this is a really tricky question, actually. I would love to hear your thoughts. So I was at MCE before. MCE had an energy storage program where customers said they would discharge from 4 to 9 p.m. or use electricity from the storage system from 4 to 9 p.m., but would often override those settings. Maybe you, as a very educated like energy professional, you don't do that. You just leave the setting.
I don't want to pay the peak rate.
Yes. A lot of people in our experience on that program maybe mess up the settings, overwrite the settings. A lot of people, especially when it's really hot, they get worried that an outage happens and like go in backup mode, even though it may not be needed, and then keep the battery just fully charged because they're scared that the grid will go out and they want their battery fully charged, and so the battery doesn't discharge from 4 to 9 anymore. A lot of that, and then people forget to reset it to original. So a lot of that happens, and so there's a lot of conversation about how the load serving entity, either PCE or PG&E, can get more control over these resources while still giving the customers some sort of override. And so there is a big discussion going on. Should there be more control over these resources, or should the customer still be the entity who in the end decides what happens with the resource on their side? If the customer still has these override possibilities, like it's not that much use to the grid. Because the grid CAISO, like our balancing authority, the entity that makes sure our energy works, they can count on that resource. If the customer can just say, nope, no, I'm not sending you any electricity anymore, sorry. So it's a big kind of philosophical question.
I know MC has like a virtual power plant pilot program. Do you know how that's going or what stage they're at?
I haven't heard anything over the last 6 months, but what they were doing, which was kind of great, they rehabbed really old homes that were falling apart basically in Richmond, in a really low-income area of their service area, build new homes with a lot of other partner agencies, and then are installing a lot of different what we call load flexibility technologies. So solar plus storage, a heat pump water heater, a smart control thermostat, and then they want to make sure that all those different, like the water heater, the smart control thermostat, and the storage work together to make sure you reduce your usage from 4 to 9 p.m. I think all the resources are installed, and they're starting to control those resources, but they have big goals of then sending that electricity to the CAISO, to the California Independent System Operator, like that big balancing authority that manages our grid and make it count like a big front of the meter resource. So that is all not happening yet. That's future state that they're trying to better understand.
You know how many homes are part of that?
It was a very small, don't quote me on a number, but it was under 20, I think. But a lot of the CCAs, including PCE, were working on creating these larger virtual power plants, like PCE, I would say, again, this is me maybe dreaming, but sometime in 2025, we'll have a virtual power plant too. With like the resources that are being installed in our programs right now. Like all the heat pump water heaters we're installing under our home upgrade program that's launching, like in a few months. Those are huge opportunities. These energy storage systems are huge opportunities. There's hopefully really some momentum coming in, like you said, like the numbers aren't going to be huge right away, but like a few hundred, So we're not talking 10,000, but like a few hundred. In 2025, hopefully. Yeah.
So for that philosophical discussion that you're having,
Yeah.
it seems like that's a very real fear that people would have, I spent all this money to get a battery. This is supposed to save me if there's an outage. And the idea of relinquishing control to somebody else, I think could be very unnerving for a lot of people. And it seems to me that you're gonna need to have some way that you can promise that you're gonna be compensating people if we do control your battery and oops, there is an outage and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything left in
Yeah.
your battery. So how would you be able to?
Yeah.
Make that feel okay for
Yeah.
people?
I think there are some opportunities, but I'm talking as a rational energy professional, and then there's the human, right, in people. So as the rational energy professional, I could say, okay, we'll give you, we actually pay you for using your battery like we need it from 4 to 9 every day. We give you, let's say, $10 a month. If you don't follow these signals, we don't give you the $10 a month because that's the benefit we need for the grid. So that's the kind of, you can then choose to opt into that. And you're like, some customers and many customers say, okay, let me do that. I want the $10 per month. I can do that. 4 to 9 p.m. sounds good to me. The grid usually doesn't go out without any warning, right? Like there are usually the CAISO, like the energy professionals, even when the outage happened in 2021, we all knew like at least 24 hours before, like this is going to be tricky. And then what would happen at that point, you get these, the CAISO sends out these emergency alerts, the flex alerts, maybe it's like a marketing campaign, but like the energy world gets other notifications, like the utilities and us, we get other notifications that will tell us it gets tightened tomorrow. And at that point, we would send a signal and say, we know that tomorrow it's going to be tight. So charge your battery. We don't care about 4 to 9 tomorrow. But that happens maybe 3 to 10 times a year, So I think if customers would trust us to do that, and the emotional part of the side of the customer wouldn't play in, because customers will go into that backup mode far more often than the 3 to 10 times a year when it's really needed.
I think having that heads up would be really important because you might be hearing about it in advance, but the customer is not.
Exactly.
And if you're in the middle of a heat wave and you're depending on that, for air conditioning to stay alive or something, you're gonna lose the trust right away, but having that heads up.
Exactly, and that would be the expectation, but then there's also communication challenges sometimes, especially with low income customers, right? How do you reach them? Like, is it a cell phone text message? Is it, usually cell phone I think is actually the most effective, but is it an email? Email is often overlooked. Is it a phone call? Like often it's like just hard to reach people. So it's not a perfect solution, but yeah, I hear you. I think those are all really good points.
The winter storms, you don't have any advance notice.
Yeah, a storm is coming, kinda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know that a tree's gonna fall on the power line.
Yes, that is very true. You do not know that. Yeah.
That's the majority of the outage.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
meetings for the
Yeah.
last year, except for that.
Yeah.
It's just
Trees, right?
mostly trees during the storm. So
More winter or more, is it,
Winter,
it's more
More
winter?
winter when
Strong
you
wind.
wind
Mm-hmm,
knock down trees.
yeah,
on top of power lines.
yeah,
I mean, it's less of a problem with the communities underground.
yeah.
It's the ones that are.
There's so few that are undergrounded, right?
Well, the newer ones are.
Yeah.
The older ones.
Yeah.
Most of the houses
Yeah.
are.
I live in Marin, I know what, I have the same experience. I live in Western Marin, so yes.
But it sounds like, customers have that fear because of the storm.
Yeah.
And the power lines. That are
Yeah.
underground. Yeah. You need enough to do the power shifting, that's what you're talking about, the shifting.
Yeah.
Period, and additional battery to cover the customer if the power goes out.
I mean, again, or we just have to be really careful about, like, if a winter storm is coming, just make it very clear, send customers an alert. There's a winter storm coming tomorrow, don't care about the 4 to 9, charge your battery. And if we had direct control, even, we could even make sure that the battery is charged without the customer having to take action. But direct control is again something that customers often don't like, because that just means, wait, what? You can override what I'm doing? That's not cool. So the question is again, would we directly control and just make sure the battery is charged, or would we send a customer notification and say, there's a winter storm coming, make sure your battery is charged? Both have pros and cons, right?
I mean, it sounds like the education thing.
Yeah,
of
it's
the customers
huge, right?
That you have.
Yes.
Because right now, the status quo is, it just goes out, you don't have any control.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a battery.
Yeah. Exactly. And so maybe just to add, we talk a lot about low income customers because this program is specifically focused on low income customers, but PCE wants to also encourage what we call general market customers or non-low income customers to install more solar plus storage. And so we're planning on offering a 0% financing offering, which may encourage some people, may not encourage others. But for general market customers or like non-low income customers, it's hard to provide incentives because usually the state and the grant funding isn't there for customers who can technically afford their own systems. But we want to offer a 0% finance offering that would start sometime in early 2025 as well.
But that's separate from.
That's completely
just-
separate from
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
So how are we feeling about Hannah's desire to have us recommend this program?
Right, and a little back on this is coming to the board at the next board meeting, and so if you would like to weigh in, now is your chance, and you have this as an action item on your agenda.
I've got our last question.
Yeah.
You said single family and it said multifamily.
Mhm.
A lot of multifamilies that low income are owned by, landlords who are not necessarily low income. So how does this program make sure if the landlord is taking advantage of this, that power goes back to the low income and not in the landlord's pocket?
Yeah, I think it depends on, the electricity will just do what the system will do what the system does. It will reduce the usage of the units. But then I think the question is, and I'm not a multifamily specialist, so I may have to follow up. I think usually customers pay their own electricity bills, right? Even
That's why I'm
multifamily.
asking the
Yeah.
question, how
It's represented on your bill, right? The reduction in energy cost is represented on your bill,
okay,
basically.
so the landlord will be required to meter it to the tenant
To the tenant,
to get funding
don't
for this program.
tenants usually have to pay their own electricity bill, or is it kind of like, it depends on if it's master metered or not, right? Like,
Done both ways.
it happens both ways,
Yeah.
right?
But I'm just saying, if it's going on the building,
Mhm.
right, the power could go to the house meter, which the
Oh, no.
landlords.
Yes, no,
No
sorry,
benefit.
it has to be set up in a way that it benefits the units, not
Okay,
just the
that was my
common
question.
area. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood your question. Yeah, it has to benefit the units, not just the common area of the home. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that was-
yeah. Yes,
So
sorry.
you have one big boxy apartment, and you put solar on the top. Would the benefits of the solar be sort of shared throughout the units?
Yes.
equally? Is that the idea?
Yeah, there is a tariff that's called NEM aggregation. It's very complex, and I'm not on the technical side that much to know all the details, but there are tariffs that do that kind of split out the benefits for each unit based on one large system. Yeah.
That's very cool, because you rarely see solar programs that can benefit renters.
Yeah, it's very harsh because of that, owner versus benefit. Like, the owner basically has to initiate the process to get the system built, but they don't really have any benefit from the reduced energy cost because those go directly to the tenant. So the owner doesn't have the interest in doing it because the tenant gets the benefit. And so it's often really hard to work with multifamily. And like the large majority of that SGIP funding does go to single family homes, quite frankly.
So how is this program fixing that problem?
I think they always try. I'm not gonna promise that they can, yeah.
Oh, so you don't know the details?
Yeah, the devil's for sure in the details. I mean, I think it will depend on it to find a developer or a contractor that really wants to work and push through a project with a multifamily housing complex. Yeah. Sorry, you had a question too? Catherine?
Yeah, I did. So, and it's partially for you, I guess. You said this is going to the board next month. And what's going to the board is a recommendation that PCE put out an RFP to bring on a rebate administrator. There's nothing that we need to apply to the state for, right? It's just a matter of setting up an infrastructure here to better enable PCE customers to compete,
Yeah.
right? That's what we're
Correct.
supposed to be, we're being asked about. Okay.
Yes.
So you're just looking for us to say whether we endorse that idea. Okay.
I think I misspoke, it's not next month, it's later this.
Yeah, it's on the
Oh.
26th this
Right,
month.
next meeting.
Yeah, next meeting, yeah.
So this $280 million, it's not equally divided among the counties and cities, it's first come.
It's by the utility service area. So we have 3 big utilities in California, right? Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, Southern California Edison, SCE, and then San Diego Gas and Electric.
Right.
And it's dispersed, it's split between those 3 utilities based on their load share, like how many customers there.
I'm sorry, I'm so full of questions here.
Yeah, no.
You mentioned at the beginning of this that this money, it's been out there before and it tends to get snapped up by, there's sort of a handful of developers who kind of know about it and know how to make this happen quickly. Do you have a strategy for getting in before those guys?
So the strategy is to pre-qualify our customers. There is a handbook. If you dig in, you can do this. It's not hard. You just need to have the resources to dig in. There's a handbook that describes in detail what the eligibility requirements are. That rebate administrator and our staffer, Carlos and our programs team, they will work together to make sure they understand those eligibility requirements 100%, and they'll talk to every single customer to check the list before it even opens up that they are eligible. So basically doing pre-eligibility checks before the funding comes available.
So on day one, you're ready.
And then on day one, we have a stack of 200 applications that the rebate administrator will submit.
Got it.
So that's the strategy. And it is a little bit crossing fingers, but I think that's the best one can do. And I have to say, Sonoma Clean Power is another community choice aggregator up in Sonoma. And they did a similar thing a few years ago, and they said it was very successful for them.
So we have to be faster than Sonoma.
Sorry?
We have to be faster than Sonoma.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they're not doing it this year. But yes, we are technically competing with other CCAs too. I want to do this.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where did that 200 number come from?
It's the legislature that it was actually far more. This is I could talk about all this. Cut me off at some point, but like Newsom was really excited. We had far too much money in California last year, was it last fiscal year, 2 years ago? And so he created all these energy programs and said more money here. It was 860 million initially. And then we had a big budget deficit this fiscal year. And so the money was reduced down. It is a constant, just like back and forth in the legislature. The 280 is what they ended up deciding. And actually it's happening. The 280 are actually coming in.
No, I'm talking about the 200.
280 million.
No, the
Oh.
200 customers.
Oh, the 200 customers, that is a little bit randomly picked. We could get 100, we could get 300. That is just what we're forecasting we can achieve based on what, for example, Sonoma Clean Power, they worked with 110 customers. Marin Clean Energy, they didn't do this exactly, but they worked with about 130 customers. We think we can do 200.
Yeah, we do actually need to move on to another agenda, but let's figure out if we want to endorse the recommendation or not as a group. We don't have to, but we can.
Can you make a motion to endorse?
You may. Okay, so John's making the motion that we endorse this recommendation.
Have Jeremy taking public comment?
Oh, thanks.
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you.
So you need to press the button to turn on my microphone?
It's green.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Brian Schmidt from Menlo Spark. Support the recommendation. This sounds great. A couple comments though. I was glad to see the reference to the home upgrade program. Menlo Spark is very involved with a kind of a predecessor program. It's part of this that's been incorporated into this in the community of Bellhaven in Menlo Park. And we are encountering some concern and resistance about the home upgrades because of the cost of electricity. That even with free electrification, switching from gas to electricity, people are concerned that their costs might go up. So this program might be a helpful way to address that by providing people solar or solar plus storage. So that was one comment, and generally I'd like to say, while all this program has to deal with income qualified, that there's a reference to other programs that might come into effect. And to the extent there are pilot programs that can directly benefit the users in the underserved communities, those communities are ideally one of the first places that this should be done. Of course, you also want to avoid making guinea pigs out of people and having things not work out. So trying to find that balance is really important. And then on the subject of roof repair, the PCE might want to coordinate with Habitat for Humanity, which is also working on a roof repair program, which might even be a little more generous than this one. Or you might want to split out while they do roof repairs that are unrelated to the ability to do solar. And I also want to say I'm very interested in the virtual power plant concept as well. I think that could be really helpful. And again, underserved communities, lower income communities might be more price sensitive, and they're more willing to be incorporated into the benefits from VPP. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I was an omission on my part. Are there any other public comments? No. So, John made your motion. Is there a second to John's motion? Kathleen, go for it. This is going to do that. So now we need to do roll call again, I think.
Okay, and just to confirm, the motion is to endorse the staff recommendation for the self-generation incentive program, assistance program. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, as specified, I suppose. We didn't make tweaks. Unless somebody wants to make a tweak. No?
Actually, I just want to make sure that the, sort of, targets the, those low income apartment buildings. And it makes it, feasible for the, there's not a little bit enough incentives for the landlords to actually want to do. Otherwise, we're not gonna get there, we'll just have single family stuff.
So a recommendation for a focus on multifamily, or trying to really figure that out, that they're not left behind facing this here. Fair.
Get a win-win for both of the landlords.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
however,
Good point.
just that economically.
So do you wanna word that in a way that we can tweak the recommendation?
I guess we'd say, as, incentivize both the landlords and or the owners of the multifamily buildings to participate in this program, so that, there's benefits for both the landlord and the tenant side.
Yeah.
In terms of the energy savings.
Did everyone hear that?
I think so.
Okay, maybe one of you don't mind reading it back.
Yeah. Okay. So the motion is to endorse the staff recommendation for the self-generation incentive program, assistance program, encouraging a focus on benefiting customers living in multifamily.
Does that reflect your recommendation for Remy?
Yeah, and then, incentivizing, the landlords
Yes, that's important.
to participate in the programs. Well, and benefiting both tenants and landlords.
Yeah, so there is a requirement, just to clarify that, there is a requirement, if the landlord participates in the program, the benefits have to go to the units. So that's a program
Oh, that's
requirement.
already in there.
That's in there. But a lot of owners are not necessarily encouraged to
Right.
participate, right?
So Remy, are
that's-
you saying then that you want to provide a financial incentive to the landlord to put up with the fuss of doing it?
Exactly, otherwise they're not gonna bother.
Yeah.
They have no incentive. They're not gonna do it unless they're like,
Yeah.
oh, into sustainability, but, you know. I know enough landlords, and building owners, it's all about the bottom line.
Okay. Did you get all that, Vanessa?
So, encouraging staff to explore incentives to multifamily building landlords in order to benefit both landlords and tenants.
So they participate.
Does anyone want to see that on the screen, or are you okay with the wording?
You just speak up a little bit louder. I'm having a little hard.
Yeah.
From hearing people.
Yes. Okay, so my current version is to endorse the staff recommendation for the self-generation incentive program, assistance program, encouraging staff to explore incentives for multifamily building landlords to participate in order to benefit both landlords and tenants.
Seems to cover it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding the thought, but I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with adding another incentive to a owner, a landlord, where that may take away from low-income, single-family homeowners, like, why, I don't know that we want to add another incentive to a landlord. Even though it will ultimately benefit the tenant, I guess, is that the justification?
Well, I think Remy's point was there's not a reason for the landlord to want to go through the hassle of putting it in. So it would help the tenants, but they don't have a reason to do it because it's not going to financially benefit them.
Well, if we're
Well,
talking.
it's gonna add value to their property.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's why people usually do it. I think it is,
And it's no cost to them.
if you're talking about financial incentive, that's tricky, right? Like the self-generation incentive program would not provide a financial incentive to the landlord. Like they pay for the solar plus storage system, they don't pay the owner. That would have to come out of PCE's pockets. That would be a whole different discussion, something we can float, but I'm not sure. I think if I hear you as like, we really need to figure out strategies to encourage landlords to participate in these programs.
Yeah, I mean, it could be
And it
getting
could.
the commercial realtors
Mhm.
and say, hey, you know, you landlords, if you participate this, it's gonna increase the value of your building because the tenant will pay less electricity and less of.
It
you
could
know,
be education, right?
You can maybe raise the rent a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
because they need to do that, so.
Yeah, I have to say that generally PCE programs focus less on multifamily, more on single family. So if the recommendation is figure out more strategies of how to encourage multifamily properties to participate, I think that's a very valid point that we can take back to our staff and say, like, what can we do to encourage multifamily properties and landlords to participate? As soon as we get into the question of financial incentives, it gets far more tricky.
We don't want landlords raising rents. And
Yeah.
they may not even be allowed to in these types of properties,
Allowed to usually,
Yeah. but we don't want to displace tenants.
What if we just removed landlords and tenants? It said encouraging staff to explore incentives for multifamily building participation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, yeah. If that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we could change incentives to strategies, like.
Yeah.
strategies,
I like that.
exactly.
More-
Actually, I'm just thinking, this lower income folks, they're generally also in single family rentals as well as multifamily rentals. The
Yeah,
majority of them don't own the property.
Right.
So right now it's like, wait a minute, their landlords, whether it's single or multi, have no incentive to do this.
yeah,
And if they can't raise the rent, the property, you know, by using the income approach appraisal method doesn't increase. So they have no incentive to participate. Oh, this is another headache, you know, move on to the next one.
renters are certainly another, there are some, owners out there, low income, because it's 80% AMI. there are some owners, like it's area median income. It's
Right.
not like, sometimes these programs go by federal low income level, which is really challenging in California. But because it's area median income, it's more eligibility. And there are some homeowners in that group.
So
Um,
I'm suggesting, like you said, change the sentence to strategies and say multifamily building and other renter participation. Other
Yeah,
renters
yeah,
participation.
I like that.
Rental property.
Mhm.
Sure.
Because the property owner has to participate, right? The way
Yeah.
it's designed, not the renter.
Yes, correct. Because if the renter moves out, right, the property owner continues to have the system, yeah.
Okay. Say it covers it, but it's not too specific, not giving an incentive to the landlords. I think we've got it. Okay, so we have a roll call.
We need a motion, we need to remove.
Oh,
Yeah, since it was different than.
okay. John, do you want to renew your motion?
Sure, I'll renew it with those changes.
Kathleen?
And I'll second again.
All right.
Diane Bailey, Stephen Tucker, Joseph Chen, Michael Hoffman,
Oh, yes.
There you are.
Yes.
Nile Kimui,
Aye.
Aurelio Pita, Gail Lee, John McKenna,
Yes.
Jason Mendelson,
Aye.
Sarah Scott,
Yes.
Bernie Tan,
Yes.
Desiree Day,
Yes.
Robert Wagner. Thank you, the motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, Yana, thanks so much. We learned a lot. All right, then our next order of business is working group signups. Vanessa?
I would like to ask the board of directors approve your work plan at their meeting last month. And so for a big part of that work plan, again, is the working groups. And for our newer members, we worked together with the CAC and staff earlier this year to develop a list of working groups, which are voluntary teams of CAC members that are intended to really be more of a deep dive into different programs or topics so that members can engage on an ongoing basis with staff and dive in deeper than they would otherwise be able to do in the meeting. And so again, some of the guidelines for the working groups, they're made up of less than a quorum of CAC members. We can have a maximum of 7, sorry, less than a quorum, so maximum of 6. No, yeah, 7 is no, 8 is the quorum if we have 15. Okay, I'm sorry. So they must be 7 or less for the working group.
6 is probably safe, right?
6 is safe.
Yeah.
And then we'll get our brown act training during our next meeting, so you know more about what I'm talking about. And they meet as needed. Each working group will choose a lead who will take the lead in organizing meetings with the working group members, and each group has a staff liaison as well. And then they have specific tasks and deliverable. So I'll quickly highlight the 4 working groups that you all have the opportunity to participate in. And then we would also welcome sign-ups. So if there are any working groups that you're interested in, we can put your name down so that the working groups can get started. So the first working group is strategic planning. And this group would work with our chief operating officer to provide input on our strategic planning process this year. 2 working groups focus on energy programs. One is relating to building electrification programs. So would be working with our staff liaison, Rafael Reyes, to provide feedback and input on residential programs to help encourage folks to go electric in their home, as well as some of our programs for governments and helping them electrify their facilities. We have a working group focused on transportation electrification, and so this working group would work with our staff to advise on electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and some of the programs and outreach methods for those. And then the final working group is for marketing strategy, and we'll be working with our marketing team to help advise on our brand refresh and program marketing campaigns.
Can you explain a little bit more about the strategic planning, what that would entail? Does it include like how PCE procures more clean energy generation, or can you just talk more about that?
Yeah, I can't say a lot, but I can tell you what our last strategic planning process looked. So 5 years ago, Peninsula Clean Energy and its board went through a strategic planning process to kind of chart out our two, or to figure out what our two main strategic goals were going to be for the next 5 years. And that time period is coming to an end. So, but in the initial strategic planning process, we decided on the goals of helping our county electrify, decarbonize. Originally the date was 2045. The CAC moved that up to 2035 as a goal. And then the other one was to offer 100% renewable energy. So, you know, we're looking at like, what are our next big goals for like the next 5 years? Do we keep those? Do we alter them? Do we, you know, add? In your involved in this also.
Yeah, I can add a little bit too. I'm working with Shalini. I'm kind of assisting Shalini on that strategic plan. And we're very much in the beginning. We had a kickoff meeting last week. So, but just exactly like Kirsten said, it's the big strategic questions and the goals that we want to establish for the agency for the next 5 years. So it's the questions of affordability. It's the questions of like, how do we serve all of our customers equally? How do we distinguish ourselves from PG&E? How do we educate customers who we are and what we do? You know, that's the big overarching question of what's our value? How do we decarbonize without increasing rates too much? So like, just like Kirsten said, the big questions that are going to guide us over the next 5 years.
And those big goals become objectives and then they become
tasks.
Yeah, strategies that each are assigned to each like department, each staff. And Vanessa and I are in our annual report, in our annual reviews, we report out on the specific strategies that we're responsible.
And when was the last time this was done? It was 5 years ago?
Just about 5 years ago.
So it's an every 5 year kind of thing?
That's the cadence we seem to be on.
Great question. And would anyone like to sign up for the strategic planning working group? So.
Strong showing from our new CAC members.
Yeah, Michael Clausen would like to.
I'll join that one as well.
This group. And let me explain a little bit the role of the working group leads. The working groups are run by the CAC members. So while you would work with Shalini, you run your own working group. That means that the lead, will figure out when Shalini, for example, is available for a meeting, and then schedule among the CAC members, just actually schedule a meeting, make it happen. And then make sure that you build the deliverables, write up the report at the end. So it's not a ton of work, but you do need to kind of be on top of it and just kind of make it happen and lead the group. So that said, would one of you like to be the lead of that working group?
I'll nominate Kathleen.
Sorry, I can't. I'm gonna be stretched too thinly. I can't. That was a nice try.
You're supposed to volunteer John now.
I'll lead the building electrification group if I'm on. I want to lead this group.
Well, Jason was gonna lead the building electrification group, so.
No, I was not. I filled in for the person who disappeared from that last year, so. Yes, let's do that. Can I make
Special members of here tonight.
I'm not volunteering, just holding space open for people who I think might want to join it. But if it is not filled, I would like to volunteer if the other members don't do it. Not to lead it, just to be on it. But it's not my priority, so that's why I would like to lead.
So should we put you in like parentheses?
Yes, yes, because I'd like to encourage others to, I would like you guys to encourage others to sign up knowing that there's a space.
Alfred next to his name,
Yes. Correct.
Gary Bond.
No.
Yeah, we all need to get the people who aren't.
Thank you, that's perfect. That's why, yeah, I have other things I want to do, so that's why I just.
It's over?
Oh, I might.
Hey, Michael, did you just say something?
No,
Okay.
Robert and Diane.
Yeah, but I want to volunteer.
But we will, no,
Yeah.
yeah, we never have it all filled up in the first week.
Did I hear that John was interested in leading working group?
Maybe.
Make a pitch.
Changed quick.
That.
Yeah, right?
Pitch on this, these are all brand new, but historically a similar analog to this group. Raphael will send a recap of what's happened in the last month. And then the chair of this group could coordinate with Raphael or whoever is working on it that month to prepare an agenda, which is usually discussion of that and whatever action you take. It's not, facilitating these groups is not as demanding, unless you want it to be, as it might seem. So I would encourage you to try it and then not quit. That would be, I think I would encourage you not to quit. Right, good.
He would encourage you to try, but he's not gonna do it.
So John, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
You just carved all over here. This has got bridges for sale.
Okay, transportation electrification program.
Any company, I'm not gonna chair myself.
And let me make a pitch for this one as well. The last incarnation of something similar to this was looking at a program they worked on with UC Davis and other organizations to discover what incentives worked. Now it's how to act on that and figure out how to reach out to people and to figure out how to maximize a lot of really good programs. And I know Philip is fantastic to work with, and he was great for us in the past. So I think if you want to get your feet wet, new people, this might be a good one to do too, for that reason.
So you're also interested in.
Yeah.
That's this is a good, you know. I'd like to.
Cool.
Explain.
Kathleen, you want to run this?
I didn't volunteer for this.
I know.
Oh, wait a minute, no, this one, yes, I did.
You
Yes, I did
do?
volunteer for this one, but no, I don't wanna.
Okay.
Let's go over the bridge.
Let's go to the last one and we can circle back. A strategy.
I think Jason would be great for that.
Do we know what the goal is here?
We're doing some rebranding or branding updates, and so it's really making sure that we are effectively reaching our customers.
Will this tie in directly to the new home upgrade plans, the concierge service and all that stuff too, or is that gonna fall under building electrification? Or both?
And there's a lot of overlap.
That's what I
Right now,
mean,
we
yeah.
have a lot of coordination meetings going on about the about the customer journey, and we're making sure we make it smooth and painless. That said, I think this might be a little higher level than the tactical elements of that customer journey. I think this might be a little more like how to, a larger rebranding process to be more customer centric in how we communicate.
I bet you some of the people who aren't here tonight would wanna do this one too,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't wanna speak for them, so I think if we leave it open. However, we don't know what we're eating next, but if we leave it open, it would be good too.
Yeah, I think I'll put my name.
I was gonna volunteer you if you didn't, so but
Yes, yes.
and I wanna hedge till next time, because I wanna see what other people, I don't wanna do all four, so I wanna see what everybody else wants to do next time.
I don't want to do all four either.
I'm trying to focus.
I think it would be good to identify these for strategic planning and transportation, so that if those groups did want to meet sooner, then they could start organizing those meetings.
I think it is strategic plan.
And a veteran in there, that's good.
On the building, like if one of the more senior CAC members wants to lead it.
No.
They should be able to.
Take my shot, it's okay.
No, I'm not trying to back up. Anybody senior.
No.
So now we're trying to do transportation, right?
Yeah.
If this group wants to meet before.
Right. And they may too.
Awesome. Do you guys notice who, if it's Philip or Carlos, who's gonna be talked to? Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, it was two staff with different things.
Well, I think we can leave it at that. And I will, connect all the working groups. And thank you all for cooperating with the public project.
Are there any public comments about the working groups? Okay.
Include public plans, rectification of weather, thoughts of this.
Yeah.
We have a fleets program, but it's focused on local government fleets at this time.
Oh,
So we're writing strategic plans for local government entities to how can they electrify all of their fleets from, small fleets to large fleets. But it's for local government.
So that's
And it is
not part of
specifically.
this. Okay. This is more commercial.
Yeah, this is for the residential, yeah.
I mean, you're in one section. Processes. But since it says residential, that I don't think that would be good because that's more kind of like major customer.
and generally, we are generally residential facing, advising, but if there's something you see, I think one of the great advantages of this, because you're working with the staff every month or every, whatever your period is you see something that's going on somewhere else that looks interesting. This is a good first place to go with the staff, be like, hey, I just saw in this part of New York, they're doing this new program we never heard of. The last time, one of our previous working groups was entirely researching other communities are doing any connection to solar plus storage, and we found that very enlightening, so.
I mean, like in the transportation, I think it's pitch, or one of the school districts up in Contra Costa electrified all the school buses, and we were, I think, even advertising this, it's hard to even, you
Yeah.
see that, it's helping kids' health,
Sure.
Yeah. We offer free technical assistance to government entities, including schools, to help them electrify their fleets. So and to get funding for that as well. So we do offer that service.
Okay, but that's not part of these working group for now.
Well, you would, well, Philip also runs that program, so you
Oh.
could chat with him while you're there.
Sure.
Oh, yes.
David.
Hi, David.
Hey, I don't want to get too far out of my lane. I mean, this is a great conversation. I did over the current time estimate, and I know there's another agenda item, so I just wanted to.
Yes, no, we do need to go. Okay, all right.
I don't see any public comments online.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item then, which is, oh wow, we have a big one. Oh my gosh, sorry. Diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion action plan implementation update from Kirsten.
Great. All right, so as you all requested, I'm happy to give you an update on the implementation of our diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion action plan. And especially because this group is really interested in this topic because this whole process started with you all. It started with the community advisory. Back in 2019, some of you were on this group at that point. This group developed and approved a racial equity statement that was sent to the board of directors for consideration. This was right after the George Floyd murder, and there was a lot of soul searching going on. So this group came up with a racial equity statement for Peninsula Energy. Sent it to the board, and the board said, "Great, but let's go further than just a statement. Let's get a consultant. Let's do analysis on what we really need to do. Let's write a policy for operationalizing DEI at Peninsula Clean Energy, and then a detailed work plan to make it happen." So you all kicked it all off, a big multi-year process, and so that's where we're at. So next slide. Okay. Oh, great. So we passed a policy in 2022, which is very detailed. It's on our website, but the key point is that we commit to making diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion a priority during decision making. It's several pages long. It's much more than that. So that policy passed October 2022. And then we worked with the consultant to create an action plan that implements that policy. So we went through very carefully each item of the policy. How do we make this actionable at PCE? And that includes recommendations from the staff, from the board, from the CAC, and the community. We had a CAC working group. It was approved by the board of directors a year ago, and included in that action plan is the requirement to report to the board, I think twice yearly, and report to the CAC twice yearly on our progress. So there are 44 actions in this action plan, and I'm happy to report that we have either started or completed 80% of them in 1 year. This is a multi-year process. So the fact that we have even started 80% of them, I'm pretty proud of that. It's a lot of actions. And then we've got clearly more work to do because 20% of these actions we haven't even touched yet. So we're working on it. So the way this is set up is that we have sections of the plan that correspond roughly with different departments at PCE. So this is a part of the plan owned by the C-suite around organizational culture and DEI commitment. Overall, the goal here is to advance and promote DEI within our workforce, business practices, policy programs. There are 9 actions under this part of the plan. We have 6 of them complete. We started, and some are now ongoing, 2 of them, and 1 is not yet started. And for each of these, I've got an example of an action. So one was to establish a DEI framework, decision framework for goal setting and decision making. And that is complete. We have created a internal staff framework for analyzing all of our major decisions with a lens of wealth and race. And to help make sure our impacts on major decisions, help understand the impacts on major decisions from that perspective. And we did implementation, started doing some implementation training for our staff last week. And then as we write our new strategic plan, we plan to integrate our action plan and implement our DEI within that strategic plan. And so that'll be something that the strategic planning working group will probably do as well. It's exciting. There's a big section for HR, including creating a workforce that's more representative. We have 7 actions there, 4 are complete, 2 are started ongoing, 1 is not yet started. And some of the actions we've taken, updating our employee handbook, ensuring salary transparency, come a long way on that. And integrating DEI metrics in our employee performance review. So now when you, in your annual review, you actually report out on how you're supporting DEI. And some of the things that we're still working on are to enhance DEI in the application and interview process, such as hiring training managers on how to mitigate bias during hiring and promotion, tracking diversity metrics, and adding preference for candidates who are fluent in our priority languages. We use most in Peninsula Clean Energy Service territory, which are Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, and Tagalog. All right, great. And then the training development, also owned by HR. We require employees to complete DEI-related training and encourage the board and the CAC members to do so as well. We haven't quite got to the point of developing a training for you all, but it's on our list, so it'll be exciting. We have 5 actions on there. 1 is complete, 2 are starting ongoing, because the nature of training, most training tasks is they're never complete. There's always new staff and those need more training. And then there's 2 staff tasks that are not yet started there. So there. One of the highlights is we have done 2 all hands staff trainings in person. We did 4-hour one in October 2022, a 2.5-hour one last December. And a fun update on this is that we started celebrating the same cultural heritage months that the county is celebrating. So in May, we celebrated Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Vanessa put together a panel with some community speakers. This month, we're doing a Pride Month. We have a great community speaker who's going to for the staff, and then we're also doing a Juneteenth. We're bringing in a community speaker with deep history in East Palo Alto. So we're just learning a lot more about our customers and doing kind of this ongoing training as well. Energy programs. The goals are to define energy equity and set goals and metrics for achieving it, and increasing input and feedback from diverse communities to improve equity in our programs. We have 5 actions there. 1 is complete, 2 are started ongoing, and 2 we're just getting going on. 1 that is complete is to finalize a process template to incorporate community engagement in program development. It's been a little ad hoc sometimes, but now we're really systematizing how we make sure that we do community engagement at the beginning of the process when we're developing programs. And of course, Vanessa and I and the community relations team really support the programs. So we've done program development focus groups in English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese this last year with the help of some of our CBO partners. And a fun opportunity coming up here is going to be reviewing our current programs for DEI related gaps and inequities. Looking, for example, who is serving? Are the marketing methods leading certain people out? Is there big time burden required to participate in a program that may be, leaving some people out. So just kind of doing that whole analysis. On marketing account services, the goals are to improve the accessibility of our customer service, and under supply and basically improve accessibility of PC's offerings, especially among low-income and disadvantaged populations and limited English proficiency groups. We have 8 actions. 1 is complete, 7 are started and ongoing because communication never ends. And yeah, we started them all. One of them is to make sure our public website is accessible. And that's for folks with disabilities. There is a kind of a certification for websites called Web Compliance Accessibility. And we are compliant with that. We have an auto translate function that will translate our website into many languages. It only works for HTML. It does not work on PDFs. So they're still trying to solve that problem. Working on it. And we're also working on how to solve for translating web forms for enrolling in programs. We know what the fix is, just need to implement it. And we're really close on finalizing new language and technology access guidelines. I think it's going to be best in class for all the CCAs. And that really is trying to be very, very thoughtful about different types of barriers to communication and how we. And then finally, addressing vendor diversity and social responsibility. This is most of the power resources team, since they spend about 80% or 90% of our money buying electricity. So this, and of course they spend it working with suppliers. And so we're trying to make sure our suppliers are environmentally conscious, have equitable business practices, and establish a level playing field by creating opportunities, limiting barriers, equal participation for all vendors. So that's a lot of outreach to small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, etc. Make sure they know how to do business with clean energy. Got 10 actions there, 4 complete, 3 are started, and 3 that we're staying going. And a highlight there is that we've added some questions to our request for offers template for utility scale procurement around environmental stewardship, disadvantaged community outreach, workforce development. So this means when we put out a request for offers, say, hey world, tell us about the solar and wind and battery storage projects out there that we might be able to contract with. When they reply, we ask them to report out on these parts of their projects as well on a and then that part of the questionnaire accounts for 20% of the total score. So we want to do a little more on increasing the visibility of our RFPs and our websites so people can find them if they want to do business with us, and make it a little more understandable how to do business with us. We have an internal DEI council of staff members who are making all this a lot of this happen. So thank you there for members of that council. Vanessa and I are both on that as well. And then of course, there are some challenges over this last year. We're still building up our HR capacity to be fully at capacity because they have a big chunk of this plan to implement. We're still figuring out exactly what our training plan strategy is, and still training up all staff to feel like they have ownership over implementing this. But all that comes with time. So you're going to keep working on the implementation and integrating these actions into our updated long-term strategic plan. Got it. Any questions? Jason's got it.
I think talk about the working groups. I think this has to be top of our mind for all 4 working groups that we do this. It came out of one of these working groups. We started this, like you said, and I want to thank In addition to us doing that, I want to thank Vanessa for all she's done in this space, and I also especially want to thank Kirsten, who's been on this since day one and passionately not letting this fall away from anything and be not only on top of it when we were doing it, but throughout the entire process, now leading this group. I just think you've done an amazing, passionate, and sincerely profound job at trying to get this very difficult thing going, sustaining, and then perpetuating in the future. And I just want to thank you. I've seen a little bit of what you've done on this, and it's been amazing. I just want to personally thank you for that from before day one on this. So thank you guys both very much for that.
I too was impressed at how much has already happened. I told Kirsten that tonight before the meeting. So it seems so much like it took a lot longer for the idea to come into fruition and then a plan made, and now she's clearly running with it. So it's wonderful. Any other questions for Kirsten? Are there any public comments about this DEAI presentation? No? All right. Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to move into upcoming topics for discussion.
Marketing and community liaison up here.
Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry. My head's full of gunk.
We have such an exciting update for you all. We may have Peninsula Clean Energy launched our e-bike for everyone program. And so earlier this week, I sent you all an email with a digital flyer and some marketing, media, digital outreach, graphics, and tools for all of you. And so basically the program is for folks who qualify based on their income, and we'll give them up to $1,000 to purchase an e-bike, or they can lease an e-bike at a discounted rate. And the program is first come, first served. And so in the past, the signups have flooded in, and so we weren't able to have the applications open for that long. And so if you know anyone who's interested, encourage you to have them apply as soon as they can. We do know that the state will be coming out with a similar incentive program for e-bike. So even if they aren't quite ready to apply for ours, if they miss that window, there are some more opportunities coming down that we'll let you all know about. But that's our main update. Any questions on this?
Come base, the e-bike?
Yeah.
And it's already gone. Yesterday's was oversubscribed, at least initially.
Oh, the program is still open.
Okay.
But
You got a lot
we
of,
got, hundreds of
Okay,
applications
okay.
so far, so I don't know how much longer we can expect for it to be open.
sure. That's great.
Okay, anything else from Kirsten? Are there any public comments on the marketing update? Now we'll move back down to upcoming topics for discussion. Kirsten.
Yes, okay. So usually for new members, this is where we decide what we're going to talk about in future meetings, but usually it starts with me going over what's going to happen and coming up on the board and other meetings. So you just have a center. What's coming up in the organization that often helps focus what we're going to do in this group. So coming up at the June executive committee, they've got a budget preview, a rates preview, and it looks like they're going to hear from Yana about SGIP. It's going to be busy. And then at the June board meeting, yes, we're going to it looks like we'll be discussing the budget and potentially approving that as well. And there'll be discussion about a rate increase for Eco 100. And that is because we learned recently that the 1%, like the 1 cent per kilowatt hour premium on Eco 100 is no longer actually covering the cost of that product. And so we're looking at an increasing rate to cover the cost of that product, so it's not subsidized by other customers. And it looks like we'll have a new PPA coming, a power purchase agreement coming to us. So that's, so mostly budget, I think, is gonna be happening in June. That's the Eco 100 conversation. Now, the board is going to take July off. Apparently this is a pretty a common thing among local governments, that they don't meet in July so that families can go on vacation, etc. So neither the executive committee nor the board are going to meet, and they invited us to consider whether the CAC wants to do the same thing. So that's up to all of you. I'm welcome to come if you want to meet in July. That's all good, but it really is up to you all.
Before we move on, can I ask 2 quick questions? One, can we hear maybe next time about the Eco 100 thing? I know it's a small number of customers, but I think if the goal is that we're scaling everything up and getting everything more renewable and everything, that seems to be, I don't know, that's the first I'm hearing of that, and it seems to be a shame to lose that or to make it more expensive. So I'd love to get even just a 5-minute report on why.
Yeah, it's not agenda, it's agendized. I can give you maybe a 30-second report.
Okay, but before going to that, the second thing is, the board is supposed to be taking they're supposed to be looking at our recommendation from last month. They weren't able to do because they wanted more staff input
Yes.
for that thing too.
I'm sorry, yes, so that will be going to
About the study.
the board on the consent agenda, because we think the board is probably just interested in approving your recommendation.
Okay.
And sending that to staff. So it reminds me, I need to write up the resolution tomorrow.
I don't know if this is quite what you were asking or not, but on the Eco 100, there was a discussion a while back about, well, it's going to become kind of moot soon, so
That's right.
what else are we, shifting it to something else? Can we get an update on
That's what I
where
love.
that stands?
Yes.
Is that what you were asking about?
Yeah, well, you were saying we were gonna charge more for it, but I thought we were getting rid of it because we didn't need it, so I'm.
Yes.
Used
good
to.
point. Well, and meanwhile, it is important, especially to certain commercial customers who, large commercial customers, think big corporations who have offices in San Mateo County and have global, like internal sustainability goals that they want to source 100% of their energy from renewable energy. They like the Eco 100 product because it's third-party certified by DEAI. So they can say globally, at all of our offices, we're getting all of our energy certified by Green E. We have a product that can, serve that need in San Mateo County. So that's actually 80% of our load for Eco 100 are these big global corporations.
They're less price sensitive.
They're potentially less price sensitive. And also, there are some equity concerns about if the price of Eco 100 and that certification is the price of serving those customers with that product is increasing. And do we want the Eco Plus customers to really be bearing the brunt of that? Or should we just, charge these customers what it actually costs to provide them that product? And that's really the direction we're going in.
So Christian, is it because before the Eco Plus rate was kind of set at 5% less than the PG&E rate, right? And at this point, it's more like 10% or maybe 15% because our rates didn't go up when PG&Es went up, but the Eco 100 is still set at 1 cent per kilowatt hour more than Eco Plus. So kind of, and when it used to be staged, right? It used to be Eco Plus, PG&E, Eco 100, if you were kind of looking at the rates.
Yes.
So now, is it because Eco 100 is actually maybe less than PG&E, even though?
That's such a good question.
Yeah, anyway.
Eco 100 is 1 cent above PG&E, and Eco Plus was at or maybe 1 cent below or something.
Right.
Well, it was 1%. It was 1 cent.
It was 5%, so it's been 5%.
Percent.
Oh. Yeah.
For the portion of the bill that is the generation. So when you talk about 1%, that could be the aggregate because the transmission and maintenance cost is usually 2/3 roughly of your bill. So that, anyway, sorry. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Other topics, that. By the way, we actually at the staff training last week on our DI decision-making framework, we use EGO 100 as the case study to apply our DI framework to. It was a good case study for that. And other topics that we should do, we should do our annual chair and vice chair elections. So look forward to that.
And next meeting is going to be the Brown Act training.
Yes, Brown Act training. Thank you. And then often when we are, we have new members start, and we do have one more new member who wasn't able to start today. And then we'll have another new member hopefully start in August because we're going to fill a seat specifically in the city of Los Banos. So we have an open recruitment for that now. We think we'll be done with that and bring someone in August. You all are kind of like, new members are kind of staggering in, but usually when we have new members, we'll do like an overall kind of like programs overview just to get everybody kind of, get new members oriented and then, existing members to kind of excited about what's coming up in the programs world. So that's kind of a good thing to kick off the new members terms with. Anything else that you all might want to discuss in the coming months? Okay, that'll keep us busy. So the question is, are we going to meet in July or not?
Yeah, let's have a show of hands. If you would like to skip the July meeting and have that month off, raise your hand. Okay, we have 4. If you would like to meet in July, raise your hand. 1, 2, okay.
The new people don't want to lose momentum on their first.
I'm totally neutral.
Okay.
It's my wedding anniversary, so I wouldn't mind skipping.
Oh.
Mine too, but not that day, but.
Free Slurpee day.
Is it?
It was free Slurpee day. Might cut in our 7-Eleven visits.
Kathleen's secret anniversary plan, so.
Well, so it looks like 4 people said they would not like to meet, 2 would like to meet, and then we had abstainers. So I say we don't meet.
Okay, very good.
Can we suggest if we're meeting in August that we follow up on what I'm assuming will be the beginning of the supporting of the analysis of the greenhouse gas reductions in the local building there? I think a lot of us are very passionate about that. I'd love to see. I don't want to lose sight of that, even if it's just a touch base.
What was the topic again?
The one that the board will be maybe approving on the consent calendar,
The analysis.
just the analysis of greenhouse gas impact in the ordinance. I don't know what we're calling it. I'm calling it, I'm just quoting from last month, the analysis of greenhouse gas reductions from local building electrification options.
Hey, David has something to say.
David?
Hey, so I'll let Jen know that there won't be a meeting in July, but I do know there was a discussion about Brown Act training. I will note that if you wanted to have Jen do the Brown Act training just for the new folks or the new folks and folks who want a refresher, as long as it's less than a quorum, we can do that informally. And then, those new folks will be able to continue their momentum. Just let me know if that's something that you want and I'll make sure that it gets.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Actually, okay, thank you, David.
I didn't
And
understand
actually-
what he
Oh,
suggested.
he was suggesting we
The
could
Brown Act
do
training.
the Brown Act training. I actually like though, doing the Brown Act training in the meeting because even folks who've been on the committee a couple of years, it's good to get a refresh, honestly. It's okay.
And we do need to schedule our new member training, and so that might be a good time to do it in July. So new members will hear from us, but we'll, yeah, even if we cancel this meeting, we can use some time next month to formally onboard you, train you.
What's the other meeting? Training.
Oh, so
That's the Brown Act training.
that's we're gonna move that likely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was onboarding. Oh, that was the onboarding, sorry, excuse me.
No time yet. 2 hours.
Still need to find a
So, is there any public comment on these topics of discussion? No, okay. So our last item of business are community members' reports. Does any community member have a report? Aurelia, you didn't get to introduce yourself. Could you just quickly tell us who you are? We did this while you were away. Just who you are, where you live, and what you would like to do in the coming year for or with the CAC. Or what you'd like to learn too. That would also work.
Okay, my this is already I'm working in citizen protections in the community. I would like to learn more about the marketing strategy. Instead of to enroll in that program, I'm sure they will say yes. Because I'm more familiar with the 101 project, so but I want to learn something different.
I just didn't want to completely miss your chance to say hello to the group, even though we'll have some people introducing themselves, I'm sure, for the next couple of meetings. So thank you. I know that you were at it. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to report? Oh, Stephen Booker.
Absolutely. I'd like to report that I was honored to be at the ribbon cutting for the new solar array at the Boys and Girls Club at the Youth Center in San Carlos. The PCE did a collaboration with Macmillan Electric, which was a signatory contractor with IBEW, which they picked it up from Intermountain Electric, which was having some problems, but I was glad to see that Macmillan picked that up, did a good job, and they're gonna continue to do some more projects in San Carlos, the library and City Hall, I believe, under the same scope, so that was awesome.
Great. We love it.
Yeah, Kurt goes in, and Sean and Mark. Yeah, it's always cool to go to a ribbon cutting. Yeah, so it's good to see the success that PCE is having in the community. You know, City of San Carlos will benefit as well as the rest of the county, so that was awesome. Look forward to going to some more of those.
Thanks for
Where were you? I was looking for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry we ran kind of long tonight, but we'll try our best to.
Go longer, but apparently next meeting was real short, so what happened?
Yeah.
Just one quick thing, as an architect working on multifamily housing, I just, realized the new building code, the 2022 code cycle, is requiring actually solar be installed on multifamily buildings, new construction. And, I just got a Title 24 back from one of our consultants, and base amount based on, the conditions square footage was a pretty big number. And we actually couldn't fit it on the roof of the building. So, hopefully there are more efficient panels, but, he did come back and said, well, that's the second limitation, and he had just forgotten to do it on the Title 24. But that's just really encouraging to see that it's actually a building code requirement.
What progress, great. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, John.
Real quick, I just want to promote an event that happened on May 9th. It was called Code Red for Humanity, Clean Air, Healthy Bay Area. And it was sponsored by all of the CCAs throughout the Bay Area, Peninsula Clean Energy included. Blake was one of the speakers. But the event was centered around what local governments can do to prepare for just the transition to electrification. And more specifically, the air district's rule changes that are coming down the pipe for water heaters and furnaces. So we had a bunch of speakers from different cities talk about things they've done to streamline the permitting process, to modify their zoning codes to make it easier to put in this electric equipment, how to help develop the workforce that's needed to do all this work. And then we had CCAs talk about programs that they're doing. So like the virtual power plant pilot program that MCE is doing, obviously the 0% financing that PCE offers, a whole array of things. But I encourage you just to share that with your local elected leaders and staff that you know, so that they can learn about what other communities are doing to make it easier to make this transition. It was Actera was a partner in the event, so you can go to Actera's website and see the recording there. And there's a whole bunch of resources attached to it as well.
They find it under Code Red, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I wish I'd known that, but we don't have